Welcome, everyone, to episode number 26 of Audacious Freedom, the podcast, or in season 2, it's episode 11. And I'm calling it, I Did Not Name My Daughter After a Damn Car. I had chosen a name for a boy and a name for a girl when I was pregnant. I did not want to know the sex of my baby, though I did have a very clear dream about halfway through my pregnancy where a technician burst into my doctor's appointment and blurted, "You're having a girl." Even then, I still kept a boy's name in my back pocket, Rafael Luis, Luis being a nod to my grandfather and my father, Louis G. Mendez Jr., and Louis G. Mendez III. And the only girl name I chose was Mercedes Mendez, after my mother, the other Mercedes Mendez. It wasn't until after I met my baby girl, after giving birth to her, that number one, I knew she could carry such a strong name. And number two, that I would also give her a middle name. It was my sister who, along with my mother, had come up from the Washington, D.C. area to New York City to meet my baby. It was my sister who suggested I give her a middle name because most kids in this country have middle names, and my daughter wouldn't want to feel left out without a middle name. That made a lot of sense to me, and I started Googling short two-syllable names for girls because Mercedes was already a mouthful. I got it down to Eva, not pronounced Eva, and EE-suh. I decided against EE-suh because I was afraid that Americans who don't speak Spanish might pronounce her middle name as Isa instead of EE-suh. So my daughter's name is Mercedes Eva Mendez. And it would be many years before an acquaintance, a friend of a friend, said to me, "What's your daughter's name again?" "Wait," she said. "Don't tell me." "Porsche." Right? Good fucking God, I thought. You think I named my daughter after a car? "No," I politely said. "I named my daughter after my mother, Mercedes." I knew full well that this woman, a self-described stay-at-home mom with 2 kids in their 20s who don't live at home, now was probably thinking with all of her spare time, I mean, what does a stay-at-home mom without kids at home do with all her time, not working and not parenting? Well, she was probably thinking how nice it was that my daughter and my mother were both named after a damn car. I don't know if this is a thing in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. or what. I don't seem to remember anyone in New York City in my daughter's first almost 4 years on this earth thinking I named her after a damn car. But we get it all the time now. A couple of weeks ago, it was a new neighbor who said, "Oh, your daughter's name is Mercedes? Well, I'll have an easy time remembering that. I have one." And just last week, a new doctor to us said, "Oh, your daughter's middle initial is E? I was hoping for a B." "Why?" I asked hesitantly. "I was hoping for Benz." Oh my fucking God. I thought. Then I said, "I named my daughter after my mom. Mercedes is plural for Merced in Spanish. a biblical term meaning mercy, and the car was named after a girl. Mr. Doctor didn't like being schooled by this half-Spaniard, and he muttered something about the car being German. I let it go there. I didn't go on to tell him that Mercedes-Benz is a combination of two names, Mercedes Jellinek and Karl Benz. I did not go on to tell him that originally Mercedes-Benz was founded by Karl Benz and Gottlieb Wilhelm Daimler and was part of Daimler Motoren Gesellschaft, better known, thank God, as DMG. The company was first known by the name Daimler-Benz as an homage to the founders. Then, in 1900, the Austrian automotive pioneer Emil Jellinek, who was with DMG, was responsible for commissioning the first modern automobile, the Mercedes 35 HP. Jellinek created the trademark in 1902, naming it in honor of his daughter, Mercedes Jellinek, who was 13 years old at the time. While the company continued to trade as Daimler-Benz, the car line began to carry the Mercedes-Benz name. Yeah, no, I did not go on to tell Mr. Doctor all of that. All of that might have been too tricky for his doctor brain to sort through, especially since Mercedes and her father, Emil Jellinek, were actually Austrian and not German. I don't know why this pisses me off so much that some people think I named my kid after a car, but it sure does piss me off. And that they think the name Mercedes is just the first part of a car's name. Where do they think Mercedes came from? Mercedes in Spanish, Mercedes in French. I mean, I know not everyone speaks Spanish, but I grew up with my cousins in Spain calling my mom Tia Merceditas or Tia Merche, and everyone calling one of my great aunts Tia Mercedes. I guarantee you, my great aunt, who would be well over 100 years old now if she were alive, and my 77-year-old mom were not named after a damn car, a car that probably didn't even exist when Tia Mercedes was born. And if it did, her parents wouldn't have ever even seen a Mercedes-Benz in rural Spain. Why am I so wound up about this? I mean, does Ellen DeGeneres' wife, Porsche, spelled Portia, get people misspelling her name and thinking her parents named her after a car? And if so, do Portia and Ellen get wound up about it like I do? Do parents ever actually name their kids after cars anyway? A quick search of luxury car brands gave me these 24 names: Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Audi, Lexus, Porsche, Jaguar, Land Rover, Cadillac, Tesla, Volvo, Ferrari, Rolls-Royce, Maserati, Aston Martin, Bentley, Infiniti, Lincoln, Lamborghini, Acura, Bugatti, Alfa Romeo, Genesis Motor, Range Rover, and McLaren. Do parents give their kids any of these names? Do they name their kids after a car? We do have a young cousin named Lincoln, and I'm pretty sure his parents didn't have the car in mind when they named him. Anyway, maybe some people do name their kids after luxury car brands, and that's their business, I guess. I mean, at least it shows the parents have good taste in nice cars, and maybe they even drive one too. And maybe it's just a memorable name to give their kid, or maybe it's even auspicious, meaning conducive to success or favorable for the kid. But for my daughter, my mother, and my mother's aunt, after whom my mother was named, in the Bible, Mercedes means mercies, from the Spanish title of the Virgin Mary, Maria de las Mercedes, meaning Mary of Mercies. And Mercedes is a mouthful of a name, especially for little kids to pronounce. When Mercedes started going to quote unquote school in New York City at 13 months old, the other kids could only call her Cece, which I thought was cute. Cece and Dee Dee, her mom. Then when the kids were a bit older, they called her Sadies. And then one friend in preschool called her Mercedes for the longest time. So cute. And my daughter has always carried the full name well, just like my mom.